Yes, yes.
We're gonna let them put the chairs out and then we'll get started. I'm gonna say something wrong. They live stream these. Yeah. One time.
There's not a lot of arm.
I was talking to him about the car and the trash we hauled away yesterday. Went well.
Hi.
Hello. Good to see you. Glad you guys are here. I told them, I was like, you guys chose a good weekend to be here. Yeah.
One of these. One of these.
Yeah. I think that I like it. Gonna be.
All right. It is 10:30ish, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Do we before we start, we're gonna have a few announcements first. I think we have 3 announcements. Marilyn, do you want to go first?
Okay, well, we've been talking about a get-together for our InStep Sabbath school class, but there are also some people here that may be InStep wannabes. Or will be soon. So anyway, we're not having the regular Thanksgiving or fall meet at Paradise Ranch this year. And so I thought, well, I could at least do a little bit on a smaller scale, and we could have folks up to our home if we want to drive that far. But we live near Bowling Green, so it's a drive. But anyway, here's a little QR code that'll get you to our place. And if you're interested in coming, we'd love to have you. And there's going to be ice cream. I just want it cold.
Ooh.
Pardon me? It's not a potluck. So if you like Mexican food, then come on. Grab one of these. Just give me a RSVP if you're coming, so I can know if I'm going to cook for 25 or if I'm going to cook for 50. So,
Thank you for the invite.
yeah.
There you go. Grandma. My grandma had an announcement.
Nice to have your grandson teaching. He gives you the floor.
Yeah.
Anything she says goes.
Class that September 13th is the memorial service for Dr. Seeley, who passed away a week ago. And it's going to be at Paradise Ranch. And so those of us, he was a member of our Sabbath school class. And so those of us in our class told Pam and the family that we would put on a reception for the family and have a dinner there for them. So I've made a sign-up sheet, and we'll just pass this along, and if you don't mind just signing your name, and I will call you. I won't be here next week to remind you, so anyway, I would love to have all of your help. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
So thank you. We'll start it here and then.
Yeah, we'll pass that around. And final announcement, Peter Kroll.
So I'm the old adult and the young adults down the other side of the hall. And just wanted to thank Spencer for leading out, but thanking you guys for allowing the young adults to come join you. But I wanted to remind you that you're actually joining us because we are studying the greatest parables of Christ in our series. And we've gone through several, and Spencer was nice enough to tackle the prodigal son. So we're actually sharing him with you, even though we're sitting in your Sabbath school. We meet down at the end of the hall. I think you guys are actually louder than us, so to throw that out there. But we enjoyed connecting with you today, and we're proud of Spencer and that we can all listen to his presentation on the prodigal son.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Also, was thank you to Uncle Peter and Warren Downs for their support in our Sabbath school. It's always very good. You guys are very loud. About a few weeks ago, my dad was teaching in here, and my brother and I were sitting in the other Sabbath school. And at one point, everything got quiet, and we heard my dad go, "Yeah, and my sons." And Carter and I both looked at each other just in a panic, like, what is dad saying about us in his Sabbath school? We can hear him all the way down the hall. He's a loud man. So the way this came about was I was originally supposed to teach the young adult Sabbath school. Like Uncle Peter said, we're going through some of the parables right now, and I'm teaching on the prodigal son, parable of the prodigal son. And Monday or Tuesday night, I went home and my dad was like, "Hey, I have a favor to ask you," and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Can you teach my Sabbath school this weekend since I'm out of town?" And I was like, "Well, funny enough, I'm teaching my Sabbath school." And his response was, he just shrugged and said, "Teach both." You know, this is something that my dad and I have thought about for a while. We wanted to combine like the two just occasionally, the adults and the younger adults for a Sabbath school or two, maybe teach together. He can't be here today, but I'm sure eventually we'll teach together. But that we'll get into the prodigal son. I've heard this story growing up. Well, first let's start with prayer, and then we'll go into the intro. Dear Lord, thank you for your day of rest today. Thank you for everybody that was able to make it here today, and that's online. Please be with me in my words. Please help this to be a fruitful discussion today for all of us. Thank you that we've made it to the weekend. Amen. Okay, the prodigal son. It's one of those parables that we've all heard growing up many times. And every time I've heard it, I've thought it was only about one character, the youngest son, the rebellious one who runs away, steals half of the wealth, and comes back once he's squandered it all. It wasn't until I signed up to teach this week that I came to understand that there's a lot more here to the story. There's a lot more meat to a story that doesn't even really finish completely. And part of the eye-opening experience I had with that was when I got my dad, when he heard I was doing this, he recommended this book, The Prodigal God by Timothy Keller. Very good book. Highly recommend if you haven't read it yet. It's what I kind of based today's lesson on a little bit. And it's very eye-opening about God and his character. And I would put this in like the top 10 stories of the Bible for me personally. So we're going to start out. This story is in Luke 15. So I want to invite you guys to open up your Bibles to Luke 15. And if I could I'd like to switch off between ancient adult. No, I'm kidding. I'm trying to get my politically correct terms here. The Sabbath school's name's InStep, correct? Right? Okay, an InStep member. And then we'll switch off to the next, once we read the next few verses, to a young adult member. So if we could have an InStep member read Luke 15, 1 and 2. And whenever you get there, someone just go ahead and start.
Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around Jesus. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them."
Okay.
Then Jesus told them this parable. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one.
No. We just 1 and 2. You're good. Sorry. Okay, so who is our audience in this story? Who is Jesus telling the parable to? It's an easy. Oops. Yes, Pharisees and Sadducees. Who else is in the audience? Yes. Okay. But I think Opa got it right. Who is the actual audience? Who is the story actually being directed at? Yep. Okay. I always have trouble spelling Pharisees here. We'll go with that. Teachers of the law. All right, forgive my bad handwriting. So that's our audience. Now, you and I today, we have the luxury of choosing who we get to identify with in this story. Back then, they did not. When the story was originally told, it was a captive audience, and it was clearly directed at the Pharisees and the teachers of the time, not the sinners and tax collectors. Does anyone know why tax collectors are kind of pulled in with sinners? Oh man, I really messed up there. Okay, that's two ends, guys.
They were almost like turncoats because they were Jews who worked for the Romans.
Yeah. They were kind of seen as traitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to tax your fellow countrymen for an enemy state, kind of. So a lot of people
they made a good living on it because they got a percentage.
They got a percentage, and who's to say if that percentage wasn't a little higher than it was supposed to be or not? And some of it was pocketed. So there was a lot of hate for the tax collectors, and that's why they're thrown in with the sinners. So our audience is the Pharisees and teachers. We're going to read. Now we're going to jump to the story. So if I could have a young adult read Luke 15, we're going to do 11 through 16.
Did you want me to read that?
You know what, Opa, if you want to, you go for it.
I greeted. Jesus continued, there was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his father, Father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and then squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country. He began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to feed his pigs, sent him to the field to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach, to pause that which the pigs were eating, but no one gave him any.
Any initial thoughts on this passage?
I read an interesting thing on it. I think it was this morning. That in reality, when he asked for his share, he was asking that his father die. He was kind of hoping his father was dead, then he'd get the whole thing, but he got it. So that was really a statement about his relationship with his father.
Yep.
I appreciate reading the first few verses that when I get a call to say, hey, can you help me with an airplane ticket home? That's a little easier than take after you divide up your estate.
Yeah.
Because the concept here is quite, in modern times, like Deb was saying, I mean, that's a very significant request and quite presumptuous in our day and age, because kids, for one, are often left out of estates because of whatever reason, and that it isn't an automatic for one. And I'm just fortunate that none of my kids have asked me that question yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our kids ask us for monetary help all the time. I mean, I don't know how old they have to be before they don't, but I haven't explored those limits yet.
There is never an end,
Well,
unfortunately.
Doesn't the word prodigal mean a spendthrift or somebody who,
Yes.
and your book points out that it's prodigal God. And yes, one of the first spendthrifting things God did here was give the younger son all that.
Yep. You guys are tearing through my lesson.
I'm sorry.
What I find interesting is, like what was mentioned over here, it says a lot about the relationship that he had with his father, and also what speaks a lot to me is what he ended up doing once he did have that money or that estate or whatever he was given. It's like he says he spent it in wild living. I think that's kind of a reflection on how he was mentally. I think especially a lot of kids or young adults who end up living wildly, they're almost like running from this internal battle that they don't want to resolve, and so they're just trying to distract themselves with all these wild things. So it's very, very clear, like as soon as he gets it, he goes and lives wildly.
Yeah.
And it shows like there's a problem yet to be solved.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It strikes me what a desperate situation he finds himself in, because presumably, if everyone in the audience is Jewish, they're probably assuming that the characters in the story are also Jewish. So you have a Jewish man caring for unclean animals. Not only that, but his life is valued less than the unclean animal because the animals have food and he doesn't have food.
Yeah, that's a good thought. So I'm the eldest son. So I would back in those days, the eldest son gets 2/3 of the inheritance, and the 1/3 goes to the rest. So in my household, that would be 2/3 to me, 1/3 to Carter, which I'm fine with. He might say otherwise, but if I were, it's exactly what you were saying. If I were to go to my dad and say, Dad, I know you're still alive, but I want, let's say half. I want half of what you have now. I want my inheritance now. You're dead to me. I want my money, and I'm going to go about my life. It hurts. It says a lot about what is going on in the younger son's mind. So the younger son, he is what? He is rebellious.
Reckless.
Reckless. Yep. Yep. Lost.
You said earlier, presumptuous.
Yep. He's impulsive a little bit. Some might say he was broken. Okay. The youngest son is typically who we all like naturally tend to associate with. We think the spotlight's on him in the parable, which I think there is, people can relate to him, but I think we got to consider the father and the eldest son as well. So before we move on, we're going to move on to the father next. The question I want to ask you guys is, so the younger son, he wants the blessings from his father. He wants the inheritance without the father's presence. You can kind of see where I'm going here. What are some of the blessings without the blesser that we're tempted to chase in life? What are some of the blessings without the blesser that we're chasing in life? Could it be comfort? Approval? Control? Yeah, that's a good one. Power?
Is it possible to you that he was looking for unconditional love in all the wrong places?
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Because what did he do with the inheritance?
Made friends.
He made friends. Friends. Yeah. It's a good point. We'll move on to Luke 15, 17 to 24. If we could have an InStep class member do this one.
I'm not gonna call it older. It's at the-
Gigi, you're getting me in trouble.
That brought him to his senses. He said, all those farm hands working for my father sit down to 3 meals a day. And here I am starving to death. I'm going to go back to my father. I'll say to him, Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son. Take me on as a hired hand. He got right up and went home to his father.
Hi, Steve.
How far did you want me to read?
17 to 24.
When he was still a long ways off, his father saw him. His heart pounding, he ran out, embraced him, kissed him. The son started his speech. Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son ever again. But the father wasn't listening. He was calling to the servants, hey, quick, bring a clean set of clothes, dress him, put the family ring on his finger, sandals on his feet, and get a prize-winning heifer and roast it. We're going to have a feast. We're going to have a wonderful time. My son is here, given up for dead and now alive, given up for lost and now found. They began to have a wonderful time.
Can anyone here relate with the father?
How can you not? If you love someone, right, and that's where the story starts. If you truly love someone, you set it free, right? Like the only unchanging element in the story is the father. Father's consistent, right? So I'm gonna get to the older brother, which is my favorite part of the story. But actually, no, it's both because the two sons are basically inheriting each other, just in different ways. But with the father, right? The father truly cares for both of his sons. Right? He cares for everyone, and so that care is the overarching. Like again, if you want to look at like the theme that we find most, compelling and salient in the Bible is love, right? Like how could the father not? He's like, I'm you're home. You came back home, right? And the thing with love, like the son came home of his own accord. Right? He wants to come home, and so the father's just so grateful for that and so overjoyed.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a father, but personally, I don't think I would be running out to my son if he squandered half of what I had. That'd be a little tough for me. Personally, it's not something don't think I can really relate to. I mean, if I blew half of what we've had back in those days, how was wealth measured? Cattle, land, sheep. Yeah. So if your son runs off with 1/3, half of the inheritance, what does that mean? That means you have that much less cattle, that much left acreage to produce on in coming years. So the son has really caused damage to the family's wealth, to the family and their servants and everybody who else involved. Yeah. So is it kind of shocking that the father reacts this way? Okay, as a parent, you never stop loving your child.
That's my thought.
Okay.
If you're a parent, you'll understand what you're understanding now.
Okay. Okay. Let's go back to what you guys are saying. Let's go back to what is the meaning of prodigal? You had it right on the dot.
Spendthrift.
Spendthrift. Yeah. Merriam-Webster dictionary, I think it says, I wrote it down here. It's basically, I'm not finding it. Oh, here we are. Recklessly extravagant, spending everything. Can that be applied to the father as well? Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to establish some form of discipline when the guy came back? I mean,
Yeah.
So glad you're fine.
Oh, in reality, he's had his discipline.
arms and my arms would be open wide, but I would not be able to resist a little mama chat. Little, I told you so, and
Yes.
let's learn from this.
Yes. We love those mama chats. Had quite a few.
It's Middle Eastern culture, and so I think you've got to put that in perspective. It
Mm.
wasn't
Yeah.
really acceptable to accept the son back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just wondering, whether the older son expressed any anger before his brother came home to his father.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me he should have spoken up.
He probably, he probably had anger. He may not have expressed it yet. He
Yeah.
may have internalized it.
Oh, I'm just gonna suggest to this, since we believe that God is sort of has both male and female traits, right? Because we have that in Adam and Eve and everything. That, you know, I think about those of us who have given birth to a baby, you know that the minute you hold that baby, you would walk through fire. So I think about like most moms that I know, and I think moms out here would run out to meet their kid, regardless if they spend half their inheritance.
Yeah.
You'd walk through fire.
Yeah.
God ran.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones who carried it and it lived in us.
I understand.
Yeah, no, but our fathers too, but I'm just saying from a mother's point of view. Yeah, absolutely.
But you also have to think about the father's the one, like, we were talking about like culture, was it culturally appropriate, or was there any precedent for the younger son to come and be like, give me my inheritance? First off, oldest son, I mean, just being it culturally, the oldest son technically gets like the first thing, like, that's why we have the whole story of Jacob and Esau, right? And that's just by default, you're born first, you get it, right? And then you get later like Levitical laws and whatnot. Last week we talked about the story of the, oh my goodness, the foolish farmer who built all the barns and stuff. And that story starts based off of these people around Christ asking like, hey, please help to like, you know, adjudicate this inheritance, dispute. And so the younger brother doing that, that's completely unprecedented, right? There's no precedent for that. And so the father doing that is also unprecedented. So everything the father's doing is completely unprecedented. So yes, from the point of view of what people valued as, okay, the material, all these different things, how do we continue the lineage, the oldest son, everything, this story undermines all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming back to the root of what truly matters, which is something that we hold so strongly to in, I would say overall worldwide, but specifically in the West. It's this idea of, caring for people, right? And that people matter. And so that's kind of the point of the story here, is that the father's undermining all these things because ultimately it's about the son's experience. Like, both sons don't understand the father. That's what happens in the story, right? Even though one leaves and goes away, like I said, the older son we're going to see is rebellious, lost, impulsive, and broken just in his own way. They're coping with their own misapprehension of the father in different ways. And so the father's entire point is he's like, I want you to be in a relationship. And the best way for that is you have to come to that on your own terms. Like it says, the son comes to his senses. The son realizes, hey, right, my life right now is worse than being a slave in my father's house. And then he comes back and the dad's like, you're not a slave, you're my son. And nothing is going to change that, right?
Yeah.
And that's the power of the story.
Yeah, I'd like to set up and kind of open up a question for the room. I think some context that could really help our understanding of this story is I feel as though a lot of language is used almost as if the son took off in the middle of the night and stole all of the inheritance and ran away. But the story seems to propose that the father gave him his inheritance. Like he had no reason to comply, right? It's not as if he was forced to give him his inheritance. So to me, I guess a valuable question is, was the lesson to be received after the son came home, or was the lesson in part the father actively giving him his inheritance, knowing how it would turn out, right? And so once the son comes back, it's much less of a, hey, you need to learn this, and more of a, I'm so glad he already learned. Right.
Volunteer program is just.
So, yeah, that's just, it could this be just an example of some very radical type of love and even giving him the inheritance of Jerusalem?
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Brian.
I think that's a very good point. The thing that stands out to me about this story in a big way is the plan of God, in this case, the plan of the Father. It must have broken the Father's heart to give this inheritance away. And yet I have a feeling that in his wisdom, he was looking at the long picture. The younger son was looking at the short picture, but the father, I imagine, had an idea of what was going to happen. And so when you get into verse 17, that short phrase, but when he came to himself, when he came to his senses, that's a phrase of repentance. There's something that has shifted where he's realized that living apart from the Father isn't actually as good as he thought it was going to be. And actually, it's turned out pretty bad. The Father knew that all along. And the other thing that points toward the Father having this the long game in mind is this phrase, but when he was still a great way off, the Father saw him. You don't see someone who's a great way off unless you're looking for that. So he was looking for him to come back.
Amen.
Yeah. Very good.
So the point of this whole chapter is Jesus defending the fact that he is with sinners and tax collectors to the Pharisees and teachers, correct?
Yeah.
And you have two other lost stories that precede this one, the lost sheep and the lost coin.
Yeah.
And the other two have no agency. It's different. So a good coin has no agency.
Right.
The sheep has some agency, but far less.
Right.
And then the whole point with the culmination of this one is the agency of the son. And how it's also different where in the other ones where you have this more active searching from the protagonist, if you want to say that, right, the father. In this story, the father searches, but he's far more stationary, right? And so, but you still see the same theme of he's looking, he's searching, and he wants, and the celebration, like all three stories culminate in the celebration of the return of something that is lost. And again, you're being, in this case specific, but also adding now with the older sons being
Right.
How are you going to react to a reunion? How are you going to react to something that, again, is technically, I was making a joke with you earlier about the whole capital thing, but on grounds of material, again, which are valid, right? You can say like, hey, you've squandered stuff. You've messed up on legal grounds. So like on legal grounds, we can say that you should not be welcome back. Like, but what trumps that? What's the highest value? What's the principle that we're actually aiming at? Which again, in this case here, as Jesus is a rabbi speaking to other rabbis, it's like, what's the point of Torah, right? Why are we engaging in this? What are we waiting for? What is the point of the sign?
Yeah.
And of course, with the added twist of the older son story, it drives the story home to those scribes and Pharisees that, hey, who are you in this story?
Yeah, some very good points. I'm going to read what I had written down for it, and then we'll move on to the older son. Going back to culture, Middle Eastern patriarchs did not run. Running meant hiking up your robes and absorbing public humiliation. The father takes the son's shame onto himself before the son even finishes his rehearsed speech. The son plans to earn his way back, and the father interrupts him. Restoration is by grace, not by a work off the debt plan. If Jesus had stopped the parable at verse 24, it would already be a beautiful story. But he didn't end it there. There's more to it because the people he was talking to didn't yet realize it was about themselves. The Pharisees, the audience we were talking about. So with that, I'm gonna write some things about the younger brother. Oh no, we already did. About the father on here. I think we're back to a young adult member. Our next reading is 25 to 30. If someone wants to go ahead and kick that off.
Now his elder son was healed, and as he came
and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fattened calf, because he hath received from him safe and sound. And he was angry, and would not go in. Therefore his father came out and entreated him. And he answering said to his father, Lo, these are many years do I serve thee. Neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou hast given me a kid that I might make merry with my son. But as soon as thy son has come, which has devoured thy living, because thou hast killed for him the fattened calf. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all I have is thine. It was meet that we shall make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, was lost and is found.
All these years I've been slaving for you. What does that say about the older brother's perspective?
I mean, it's similar to the younger brothers, because the reason why the younger brother leaves, he's like, I don't want to do that. Like that's what I was saying, why like the younger brother and older brother are literally mirror images of each other. Because they both view the father in incongruent ways.
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, their perception, their interpretation is incongruent with who the father is. They view that in order for me to be accepted by my father, I have to slave. I have to do all these things in order to be a good son. And this is where this is part of the problem with the way we calculate our moral system even today. Because we want to look at because the whole point with the older son is saying, I'm the good son, you're doing nothing good for me. The bad son, you're doing something good for, right? It's a complete moral framework that he is placing on here. And this is again what the Pharisees are doing, right? You have good health, you have wealth, you have things, you are a good person. You don't have wealth, you are diseased, you have leprosy, you are a bad person, right? Or you have done a bad thing. And the point that Christ is trying to drive home here is just that, depending on how far you take this, I could go further than maybe most would, but the reality of stripping away the good and the bad here is of that language of behavior allows you to truly see the hurt, the pain that both sons are going through. So both sons are alienated from the father. One just does it in a way that we now will be like, sex, drugs, whatever you're going to say, smoking, whatever the hell it is, you're going to say it, right? And so the oldest son says, okay, I'll do the opposite, exactly what the Pharisees would do. Like, we will make rules for the rules, so we will never, ever, ever, ever become alienated and go back into exile. That way we will be good, right? That way we will be in right standing with God, which makes us better. And therefore we deserve the land. We deserve our Hebrew nationalist identity. And the point that Christ is trying to drive home here is he's like, you don't see how you're both. Like, you're looking at the tax collectors, the prostitutes, all these people that you are saying are engaging in salacious, reprehensible behavior as somehow beneath you. And really he's saying, no, you both need to come in and celebrate with me, like be in relationship with me. And that's the proximity I'm looking for. And that as a consequence of that relationship, is where everything changes. Like, again, think about anything, a good friendship, a romantic relationship. It all starts from like, I'm all in on this because I care for someone else. The sacrifices are not just worth it. Like, I want it to. So it's not like I'm counting on a spreadsheet. Like, okay, is this worth it? And I was like, no, I'm all in on this because I care about somebody else. And the Pharisees are here looking at it from the wrong, as the younger son was doing as well. Looking at it from a point of, what do I have to give up to get the thing that I think I want? And in the reality, the thing that the father wants the whole time is like, he doesn't care about the material. He doesn't care about all the things that culture, again, not just the Jews then, but the entire Middle Eastern culture cared about, which was lineage and reputation and status and things. But no, I want a relationship. I care about you as a person.
If everybody in that audience is going to understand civil rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say also like on a more simple note, I feel like that's like every oldest sibling ideal connected.
And I see my younger siblings get away with stuff that I would get in so much trouble. Like, they will like, stay out late or, like just little things like that. Nothing too crazy, but I'm like, oh my gosh, the way I'm like, even now, I'm like 25 years old, like I can do my own thing. I live alone. But I'm still like more scared to do stuff. And my siblings will just be like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, bye. I'm like, you guys still live at home and you're getting away with this stuff. So I think like, honestly just shows that like, it's like younger sibling, older sibling dynamic has like existed long before like our time. So yeah, I think that's what was there a little bit.
Yeah.
The comment of the older son saying, for all these years I've slaved for you, been at home. I think underlying what he's really saying is, I've spent all these years trying to build back the inheritance which should have been mine, that you gave away. And to me, misdirects the whole intention of what these two individuals really believed inheritance was. Because I think the father is showing them that the inheritance is not sheep and goats and lambs. And I think in Jewish culture, the Pharisees, and often what we maybe misinterpret is our intention of what is our inheritance. Is it truly heaven or eternal life, or is it actually experiencing God the Father?
Oh, it goes back to Jacob and Esau. I think Esau was upset that he wasn't going to get his share of the goats and the sheep.
Yeah.
And the shame of being the older son that didn't get stuff.
Yeah.
Because again, it's about that.
And he really wasn't interested in the spiritual inheritance that Jacob got.
Yeah.
They got the oldest son, I heard a bit of a Luciferian voice about how father isn't fair and have that influence. Because clearly the older son is going to influence the younger son and put those words in his ear, which was certainly a catalyst with that relationship about whispering like, hey, we're slipping away, this little guy doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And it's the self-interested, what about me, what about me, what about me?
Yep. Both brothers wanted the father's things rather than the father. They just had two different paths for it. In the end, it's the elder's brother, the older brother's goodness, not the younger brother's badness, that keeps him from the father. Which is what?
Is it good then? Like that's what I was saying, like stripping that language away. Is it actually good then? Is the older brother actually good? Is the younger brother actually bad?
A better word would be works.
Yeah. Keller, interesting enough, in The Prodigal God, Keller suggests that there's a character missing from the story, and that is the elder brother. Because typically, in that culture, the older brother or the oldest son should have gone searching for the lost sibling at his own expense.
Oh.
So Keller suggests that's who's missing from the story. Who can we relate to as that elder son?
What's the idea? What do you mean, like first one you're saying?
It's Jesus Christ, right? Yeah. He okay, I spelled that wrong. Eldest son, Jesus Christ, because what did he do? Yeah.
Which son would you rather have?
It's a tough question.
Part of the reason why you don't have the oldest son's story in there too is again the idea of you only get his polemic against what the dad is doing. And again, that's what the parents are gonna do. They're doing exactly that. Say like, why are you eating with tax collectors and sinners and prostitutes and doing all this stuff, right? I thought that the whole idea of like the Christ and Messiah was supposed to come to like to remove the yoke of Rome, right, and to reinstate again this Hebrew nationalist empire. And the entire point of having that vacant narrative element is to point to, okay, well, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
You're sitting here and complaining. You don't like all what I'm doing, but where is your effort? Where is your initiation of going and seeking and saving those that you find to be engaging in morally reprehensible behavior? Right? And then, of course, as pointed out, that's what Christ is doing. He's like, I'm actually filling that. But again, it's left open because it's he's out there saying like, you're terrible, you're bad. He's telling a narrative. He's telling a story to kind of help them reflect and give them an opportunity, like the younger son does, to come to their senses and recognize, hey, am I doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, or am I doing what I want to do because it makes me feel good? Right? Am I slaving away? Am I doing all the things to then make me feel like I can stand on the pedestal of my own works, of my own good behavior, so-called good behavior?
Yeah. Yeah. Tying this into today. Oh, you had something to say, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This just reminds me of a verse where Jesus is kind of going off on the Pharisees. I mean, and that's kind of like half of the New Testament, which is kind of funny. But it's where he gets pretty animated. He says, "You tie down weights on people that you're not willing to bear yourself." And that's so clearly what you're depicting here. Is he's again addressing the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, saying like, look, like very clearly, you're this older son who is saying, "I'm doing all the right things," right? And you're kind of this reflection of like, look at what the youngest son is doing. Look at these sinners and tax collectors. What are they doing, right? But at the same time, like they're just rule following, waiting for their inheritance as well, like you're saying. And so it just reminded me so clearly that verse, like really what you should be doing is what I'm doing as Jesus, right? It's like if you know the rules and if you know this way to relate with the Father in which you're not squandering inheritance, then you should be seeking the younger son, exactly like what you're saying. And what that takes is meeting them where they are, you know? And so this is just like such a clear lesson to me. It's so funny. The Pharisees are sitting in their nice robes and taking the highest positions in meeting rooms and, you know, doing all these things to appear justified. But he's like, you guys won't even go into their house.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
very, very interesting.
Yeah. Tying this into today, how can we identify these roles in today's life? You've got the father, who is what? He's the prodigal God. We can identify him as God, right? The one that wants us to come home. Eldest son is Jesus. Where are some places that we see the youngest son and the oldest son today?
Well, unfortunately, the oldest son is a lot of us Adventists who have been following the rules correctly all our life, and are upset with people that don't.
Yeah. Yeah. In the prodigal God, Timothy Keller brings up the point that there is a lot of older sons in the church. The youngest son is, out of the church, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a path to be saved. So to close this up, the question isn't, have you ever been the elder brother or the younger brother? The question is whether we're going to come into the feast on the Father's terms, not as wage earners, but as beloved children. That's all I got for you guys.
And if you think about it, right, like we say, like the youngest son is out of the church. He's more in relationship with the father than the oldest son. This thing is like you could be out of the church, still more in relationship. Like, right. Does the father actually use the relationship with the youngest son? The answer is no, because it's still there. Like that's where the son comes back. Like the relationship isn't lost. It's just the veneer of what we think is, again, obeying all these rules, aligning with whatever culture or whatever system is compelling you to, act in a certain way. And again, that's what the oldest son thinks they're doing. But that's actually what's separating. So the youngest son is actually through, the irony is through him wasting or whatever, what's the right term I'm thinking of here? Through him squandering, through him squandering everything, he also squanders the barrier that keeps him from the father. And the oldest son never loses that barrier. At least in the story, right? Again, it's left open-ended, where it's like, okay,
Yes.
There's no response. It's just the dad's answer to the deployment, and there's nothing that the oldest son says back. That's the whole point. It's like there's still opportunity. You can still change. You can be, like I'm saying, you can be rebellious, lost, impulsive, broken, and come back. You can be dutiful, self-righteous, and bitter, and come back. Right? Like it's still there, as the Father says. He's like, I'm always with you. What I have is yours. Right? And that's again why he welcomes the youngest son back. It's like, what I have is yours. Just come back. I just want you back.
The younger son came to his senses and came back. The older son gets, in the story, gets left outside.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the challenge to you guys this week is, as you go about, ask yourselves, which son am I? Am I the oldest son, or am I the youngest son? And am I going to go into the feast? Am I going to accept God's grace? And do I want to be with him when he comes again? We have one announcement before prayer.
Thanks for letting me come in and have a couple of minutes. Just wanted to share some exciting news with you guys about Pathfinder Ministry. For those who don't know me, my name is Billy Nelson, my wife's Paula. And we've been working with youth ministries for quite a while and love it. It's passion for us. Pathfinders this year have taken on quite a bit. It's real exciting seeing what they're doing. Just wanted to share that. How many of you guys, just out of curiosity, have been Pathfinders? Are Pathfinder, have ever been? Quite a few. How many of you guys have been to one of our international camporees? Some hands. About Camp Hale, the first one. Yeah, I was a teenager at that one, loved it. And I thought that was huge. 14,000 people there, it's massive. I didn't know that there's other international camporees and that really make ours look really small. The most recent one was about 60,000. We had that in Gillette, Wyoming, which was great. In Brazil, we are taking our Pathfinders, a smaller group, to Brazil. 120,000 Pathfinders expected to be at those international camporees in 2 weeks, split up. So we're going to be there for one of the weeks. And, we're, of course, fundraising like mad, trying to get there. We've got the tickets, and we're just going on faith. We'll have the money to get there and do that. So that's in January. But if you can imagine being with the leaders planning the budget for the year, we've also got the Union Camporee coming up in Colaqua in Florida in October. And so there's just a lot of things out there. And I'm just here asking you guys, if you have a heart for ministry with the youth and would like to help out, there's a budget line in there. It's Pathfinders Brazil 27, if you guys would like to donate there. And of course, we're always happy if any of you like to teach any honors or anything like that. Always looking for help in Pathfinders. If you have something you'd really like to do and want to share with the kids, please reach out. Aaron Raines is our Pathfinder director. Certainly reach out to him. Of course, Gisela leads our drum corps, and they're super active too. So,
Yeah.
But appreciate you guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the drum corps just performed at Geodis Stadium. Is that tonight? That's tonight. There you go. So if you want to go, grab a ticket, go see the game. Thank you guys for coming today. Thank you for having the young adults with you today. We appreciate your hospitality and you being here. So thank you very much. Let's close with prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for the day of rest. And as we battle with the question of, are we the youngest son or the oldest son? Please continue to be patient and remind us that the feast is open to us no matter what. We love you very much. Amen.
Let's give a hand of applause to Spencer.
Thank you.